And welcome to the Aaron Katsman Show. I'm your host, Aaron Katsman. We speak to your life, your money, and your investments. And as always, we're coming to you from the spiritual and soon to be financial capital of the world, Jerusalem, Israel. If you like this content, please hit the like button below. If you've not yet done so, please subscribe to both the YouTube channel and to the podcast. And if you think somebody may actually find this of interest, why don't you go ahead and click the share button and you can share it with them as well. So I'm going to vent. Okay. I had sometimes to do the big show, it takes preparation. Not that I prepare, everything is winged, as you can tell, because of the high quality. But I sometimes have to spend time thinking about what am I going to talk about. Today, not an issue, because I got a phone call. I got a phone call from a lady in her 90s, her mid 90s. Her and her husband are going strong. Thank God they should both live until 120. Unfortunately, her husband fell. Don't need to elaborate, but he fell. So that's causing some issues. Now, what is the issue? He called me up to find out, he heard about me and he wanted to invest. So I said, okay. I was already a little skeptical when they're calling me, she called me up. When they're calling me up in their mid 90s, I get a little bit nervous. I started off by saying, well, first of all, let's hold off for the investment part for a second. What are you living on? So they're living on some pension income, some Social Security. They moved to Israel, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, 15 years ago. And she said that up until the time that he fell, that her husband fell, they were making it. They were sort of comfortable with whatever income they had. They don't have huge expenses. But now that he fell and they need to bring in an aide, things have gotten pretty tight. And they said they had not a large amount of money to invest. It was under $100,000 that they wanted to invest. And they said that their friends and family all say that they should be investing the money because it's just, quote unquote, sitting around in the bank doing nothing. So I said, well, what do you want to invest in? So they said bonds. That's what she answered, bonds. Though she did tell me that her children, who are pushing them to invest, she said, my son has made 10%, is making 10%. Now, there's a difference. I explained there's a difference between getting a guaranteed 10% and having, a stock portfolio, which over the first half of this year has gone up by that amount of money. And she's like, I've got a grandchild who's up 30%, who's making 30%. I said, okay, that's great. You're not investing in AI companies, right? You're 95 years old and you need supplementary income, or you need, I shouldn't say supplementary income. You need money to supplement your current living expenses because since the fall of your husband, things are tight. So I said, you're not going to invest in an aggressive portfolio. I said, what would happen if your, let's just call $100,000. It was less than that. Turns into $50,000. Would that be a problem? Like, oh yeah. She said, that'd be a big problem. So I said, well, do you know that in bonds, you may be able to get 4.5%, bonds or CDs, 4.5%. But, you could even put your money into a short-term CD. And, if you get 3%, the difference is less than $1,000 a year. So just keep the money in the bank and do it, right? And I wouldn't even tie it up, right? They're not looking to become millionaires on this money. They're looking to make sure that, they make it to 120 and they don't have to move in with the aforementioned daughter or, one of the grandchildren who's hitting it big stock investing. Now, it really got me upset, right? That was obvious, and I hope they appreciated it. And I wasn't, I was very friendly as I always am. But like, what kind of advice? And this is coming from a child and a grandchild. You've got to invest. You've got to invest the money. Now, I don't know if the child or the grandchild knows the financial situation of the parent or grandparent. That's number one. Oftentimes, people give unsolicited advice where they have no clue what the situation is. I see that all the time. Okay, and that's where they say you get the advice that you pay for. Oftentimes, that's number one. But number two, how irresponsible is it for a grandchild or even the kid with not, when they're talking about their grandparents who don't have a lot of money, they know that their grandfather fell and they need an aid. So yeah, pops, yeah, gramps, grandma, let's start buying Micron technology. Let's buy NVIDIA. Let's buy some of the other high flyers. Come on, seriously? Why would you think that that's good advice? Well, I'm licensed and I have regulars on me, but regulators on top of me, right? I studied for my license, but come on. It's common sense, okay? I sort of hope they're watching this because, like, what are you thinking? It's your grandparents. It's your parents. What do you want them to put them in the poorhouse in case something happens? It was just shocking to me. Shocking. And, we repeated it. I repeatedly go, well, but I heard bonds. I said, yeah, bonds, 4%, 4.5% on bonds. It ain't going to make you 10%. You're not buying junk bonds. You're in your mid 90s and you don't have a lot of money. And all of a sudden things became tight because of a health situation. It is not the time to invest. Now, I know they were like, she was a little bit surprised, caught off guard that I was like rejecting the business. But I think ethically, morally, it was my responsibility to reject the business and tell them just keep the money in the bank. If you want to make something, so throw it into a 1, 2, 3 month CD, some of the money. And whatever they give you, just take. They're going to rip you off, just take it. Because you don't need any risk on that money. Zero risk. And the fact that you've got family members pushing you into taking risks, I can't believe it. I got off that call. I got out of my chair, coffee mug in hand, and started walking around the office. I started talking to the staff. I don't usually, I talk to the staff because I'm a friendly guy, but I usually don't start like just saying, you cannot believe what I just heard. It was just beyond me. Okay. A little common sense. Okay. If you're taking care of your parents, your grandparents, you're in charge of the money, just because you're maybe hitting it big, investing, you have to know their specific situation. It's not one size fits all, certainly. When you're talking people in their mid-90s who have health issues and who don't have millions of dollars. So do everybody a favor, okay? If you're going to give free advice and you're not a professional, even if you're a professional, there are probably plenty of professionals out there who want to take the money of this couple and will sell them, right? Senior fraud is a big thing. We've spoken about it in the past. But I just assume that people are ethical and moral, right? But let's say you're not licensed and you're, a family member. If you don't know the situation of that, of your family member, right, who's asking you for advice, maybe not even asking you, or just giving unsolicited advice, don't say anything, okay? Until you know the specific situation of anyone, stop giving them financial advice. Because the advice you give, if they take it, has ramifications. Right? And if you're just, well, I do this, but what you do is not relevant to what your friend is doing. You don't know their situation. How can you give them advice? I'm still blown away at the stupidity and the potential dangerousness of the advice these people, the family members, the daughter and the grandchild were giving to their grandmother and grandfather. Okay, now I'm relaxed. You've been tuning into the Aaron Katsman Show. We speak about life, money, and your investments. If you like this content, please hit the like button below. If you've not yet done so, most important, please go ahead and subscribe to both the YouTube channel and to the podcast. And if you think somebody may find this of interest, like one of those family members, why don't you click and hit the share button and you can share it with them as well. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll speak to you soon.